if I'm not mistaken, the clips are kind of disorganized here, who came up behind me and he tries to put his hand in my pocket, showing that he's aware. Okay, they actually came back with the sack, and we were standing around smoking. And he came back, and it was like right after he came back with the sack, and they actually got the sack from them through a middleman, strangely enough. So he comes back, and he's taller than me, and he kind of reaches his hands into both my pockets, and we're kind of wrestling, standing up, right, if you will, kind of struggling, right, tussling. Okay, and we'll get into the rest of the story in the next part of the video series. So remember that they're changing my voice. So he had his hands in my pockets, and we're kind of wrestling and struggling. And we'll get into the rest of the story in the next part. Now, first, I want to point out that they're trying to make it so I sound manic, right? There's fumes in the air, those interruptions. They put me in a sort of kind of disorganized state by causing me to move around and drive around a lot as a result of being fumed. And they're trying to make it so they can at least pretend that it's magically a logical assumption to say that I'm bipolar. Now, again, these are the same types of people who have a broken scale for a man, right? You see the propaganda with the military and how it resembles WWF wrestling or whatever wrestling they have now, right? This guy John Cena or some, The Rock, and they sort of represent for police officers and military types. And they're kind of big clowns, right? Circus strongmen. No offense to them or anyone else, but this has to be said. And it's that same broken scale that mental health sort of uses to determine what's normal, right? Because when you think about it, it's like the Simpsons, right? The Jetsons. These people aren't that normal, right? There's a lot of weirdos these days, right? Look at TikTok and look at the dancing, look at the music, the movies. People are acting like there's something wrong with them. A lot of people with developmental disorders, because people who think that it's okay to reproduce, right, tend to have a spectrum of developmental disorders, right? And no offense to anybody with developmental disorders, but this is part of what we see going on. Okay, instead of them admitting that there's something wrong with what they're doing with their sex cults, with their sexualized cultures, with their corporate oppression and sexual coercion, they've bred a lot of immature people who are willing to roll with it, okay, who have that same heredity, right, that same hereditary, rather, biological dysfunction that in certain contexts, again, in certain contexts, in certain situations, in certain lifestyles, in certain locations, leads them to being rather immoral without hesitation. Okay? So it's important for you to note that they're trying to make it so I sound like a drug addict or a manic person. And if I had any of those problems, then I would say that that was the case. But I don't, because truth is truth. Okay, so when somebody, I've used this example many times, if somebody was a crackhead or bipolar or even schizophrenic, and they said, that smoke you see there is a fire, and I just came from over there, you're going to believe them, even though you haven't seen the fire yourself. Because truth is truth, and logical assumptions are logical assumptions. So there's no way to effectively discredit me. It doesn't make sense to try. So as we look at this story, where this guy has his hands in my pockets, right? You know, did he want to see me toe-to-toe in a fair fight? Basically, no. Okay, even though he was several years older than me, because I was stronger than him, you know, even though he's pretty strong, because I was starting to do martial arts and I was starting to be having really worked out, right? So he didn't want to kind of go there with me, right? Even though he kind of felt like he might do pretty well, he didn't want to sustain the damage that he felt was inevitable in that scenario. Okay, so their plan was to kind of try to jack me, and then boom. The other possibility, you know, though I'm pretty sure it's the first one, what I just said, but I'm going to go ahead and say that the other possibility is that they told him not to lay a finger on me for more than one reason, okay? Because it's a shitstorm that was going to occur, right? Because, you know, I don't know what to compare it to. You might compare it to Coming to America meets, you know, maybe not Oakland gangsters, but tough guys in general, right? In my greater circle, there's a lot of tough guys, right? And it's not a good idea to mess with me, you know what I'm saying? And also, I'm smarter than the people you come across in the streets in San Jose, Morgan Hill, you name it. I'm the smartest person on the planet emerging. So here you have this person has inclinations toward violence, right? Who's trained martial arts and is training martial arts at the time, and whose dad is a brain surgeon who's very well, kind of, you might say, insulated with law enforcement. And in my greater network, there's a lot of gang members that I could potentially tap into, and including organized crime and all this. So they were way out of their league, way out of their league, right? Because of my immediate family and my extended network. And again, it's important that you know that I don't respect arguments like this being used as if someone's superior. I don't care who you know, right? It's man to man, right? It's ver in virtue means man. So you need to understand that while I tell this story, that I don't give a fuck if I'm wrong about that. I don't give a fuck if the guy was, Pablo Escobar and there was 1,000 Colombians ready to go to war at any moment in the area, right? The point is that this is a part of the story. This is part of why I felt the way I did, the situation I'm in. It also makes it clear that I'm not a punk, being like punked by the streets or something. That wasn't what's going on. Get that way out of your head if it's in your head. That was not the scenario, okay? You know, my tribe went against the government in the Nigerian Civil War, okay? Poorly armed and fought against them for like several years. And some estimates of government troops and civilians killed are like go as high as 1 million. Someone told me 1 million, but it's probably not that much. But it was a lot of people that were killed by people like me. My tribe, for all intents and purposes, is the greatest tribe when it comes to warfare, right? Naturally, you have to consider what kind of weapons you have and don't have, right? But when it comes to natural inclination of warfare, right? Martial warfare, in higher form of thinking, right? They're making crude bombs out of oil and all kinds of stuff that goes beyond the stuff you see today with the IEDs, right? With the terrorists. When you consider everything, all factors considered, it goes beyond. Okay? They were using fucking napalm and, during that war, going both ways. So it's stupid to think that these people weren't outclassed, okay? And it's stupid to think that that argument by itself is the platinum award or something. Okay, what is important, what matters is your character. What matters is you as a man. It matters more than your fighting ability. And then we get man-to-man, single combat fighting ability. That's why it's called man-to-man. You need to understand that. And again, I'm type of, I had a lot of northern friends, it's not like I'm bashing them. I had a lot of friends from various areas. Whoever was messing with me, I probably had a friend that was similar to them, right? Or an acquaintance. So, especially in San Jose, there was friends there as well. So a lot of these guys were cool guys, okay? And I'm sure they would agree with my analysis here for the most part, unless they're trying to save face. And again, this is important that you understand that. The probably reason why I'm emphasizing this, it might be uncomfortable for some people, is you need to understand what matters and what doesn't matter. And you need to understand my story, right? This is my story. It's factual. It's reality. This is what happened. This is who I am, who I was. And, who I will be is a refined version of who I am now. And so on and so forth. Okay? And I'm already the most virtuous person that ever lived and ever could possibly live. Okay? So as you get to the next part of the story, and part of the reason why I decided to make this kind of long speech is my clips were mixed up. And I wanted to make this another 10-minute or so clip instead of just another 15 seconds or so, because it was only the last part of the last clip that was going to go into this video. And then the next clip is 10 minutes, and I didn't want to kind of cut it up. So I decided the simple way to kind of organize it is to make this clip this way.